going, everyone? My name is Nick Clement with Access4, and welcome to this episode of MSPland. We're jumping into the world of mergers and acquisitions today as we speak with Michael Sobota, Managing Director of IT&C. Michael has more than 2 decades of experience in MSPland performing roll-ups for his own business as well as for others. He shares with us some of the biggest challenges he's faced, key considerations when rolling up a business, as well as how best to leverage a newly acquired business to capture organic growth. Let's get into it. Michael, welcome to MSPland. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Not a problem at all. Really appreciate you coming on the show. I know we've got a really great, exciting episode ahead of us now. We're going to be going into a bunch of topics around how you've grown IT&C, your business, especially with a bit of a focus on M&A. But to begin with, could you just introduce yourself? Who are you? What's your background? What do you do? How did you get into MSP land?
Sure, absolutely. My name is Michael Sobota. I'm the CEO and Managing Director of IT&C Group. We fundamentally have grown for the past 5 years through acquisitions. So it's been an exciting journey, overlaid with 2 years of COVID and working from home. I think we've done an amazing job to date. What else? In terms of background, I came to Australia over 24 years ago. I actually sat down and counted before this podcast. Like, oh my God, it seems like I've been over 2 decades now.
Wow.
And time flies. So I've been in Australia for 24 years. I'm a proud Australian of Polish heritage. So please forgive me my thick accent. When I talk, it doesn't feel that way. I have an accent, but then when I listen to myself, I go, oh my God, it's kind of hard. So
fair enough.
But there it is. I came to Australia 24 years ago, and I graduated from Bond University with double masters in IT or information systems analysis and design, and also linguistics. And then, went from Gold Coast back to Sydney and worked in a number of, big, more large listed tech companies for a period of time. And then there was an opportunity to move into MSP space and start a business. And I think, at that point in time, no kids.
Yep.
Nothing to lose. We kind of dove into the deep end, and the rest is history.
There you go.
So, fundamentally, I look at that sort of 2 decades, past 2 decades, as running 4 different round of, roll-up projects, either for, myself or other partners or other people type of situations. So IT&C is fundamentally my 4th roll-up project to a degree, if we can call it that way. And we started that acquisition, first business being IT&C 5 years ago. And we stuck with that name.
So when you're talking about a roll-up, for those out there who might not be fully across that sort of expression, what are you referring to? You're referring to basically purchasing other businesses and combining them into one. Is that correct?
Correct. It's fundamentally growth through acquisitions, being you approach other similar businesses and you acquire them. And depending on where they're at on the maturity operational level, you either run them separately for a period of time, or you end up, putting them under one roof.
Gotcha.
One brand name.
One brand name. Yep. So IT&C is essentially a result of one of your key roll-ups. Is that right?
Correct. Yes. Usually tend to, in my history of things, you tend to start with, one for the roll-up project, and then if the name is good and suits the purpose, then you stay with it. It's only fair.
Cool, good stuff. So in the early days when you're first getting into this space, what was the key sort of driver or the reason why you chose, MSP land to really get into and start growing via M&A?
There was this moment in time when we started the first sort of venture, the first MSP, and we started growing organically. Mm-hmm. A friend of ours who ran a software company, and let's just say he had the division that was MSP at that point in time. He came to us and said, "Look, boys, I really want to focus on, growing the software business. I don't see the future in the MSP land for me.
Okay.
Why don't you just take it on my hands?" And I didn't know anything back then about mergers and acquisitions or growing that way or doing roll-ups. And that day, I think it was Thursday or Friday, we fundamentally ended up with over $600,000 worth of revenue. Okay, so that was like early 2000 type of situation. And I looked at where we at, and what we're doing organically, and all of a sudden you've got this massive influx of clients, and obviously revenue and the business.
Yep.
And then sort of the light came up, as you call it, and I thought, maybe that's the way to grow. It would be a lot more faster and efficient potentially. Okay, so I'll clarify it potentially. If you know what you're doing and if you're willing to learn, to actually just grow through acquisitions versus organically.
Okay. So in those early days when you're just getting into it for the first time, I mean, I imagine that you would have been learning a lot of things on the go. What were some of the key challenges that you were facing back then?
There are so many, of them on every single front, in every single, line of business or department or line, whatever you want to call it, type of situation. I think that, early on, and I'm talking to a lot of entrepreneurs now, it's like you don't know what you don't know. Type of situation, right? It's like, me coming to Australia.
Yes.
I had a look at Bond University. I've never seen, the beautiful skyline and the beaches of the Gold Coast and all that. And you go, oh my God, I got to do it. Okay. Can I afford a plane ticket? I don't think so. How much the study's going to cost? I don't know, but I'm going to do it. And you kind of with a pure sheer desire, to accomplish something, I think you've got that ability to move mountains.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that sort of translates into my sort of, first acquisition that I referred to in the what I call now first round of building a business. It's like you don't know what you don't know. And I think if there's this burning desire in you to step on faith and build no matter what, and be willing to adjust as you go, look after your clients well, look after staff, and make sure that you're creating a win-win deal for everyone involved, then you will succeed. You will learn. You will adjust. Yes.
Yep. That's it. And as you said, it's a great way to inorganically grow, but at the same time, right, you're pulling two different companies together. I'm assuming when you're looking at acquiring or rolling up another business, you're going to be looking for those key synergies to make sure that when you do pull them together, everything works out as planned. What are some of those synergies that you're looking for when you're looking at other businesses to roll up?
Sure, absolutely. I think every entrepreneur in the acquisition space will look at certain aspects of what's important to them to execute that post-merger integration efficiently and transfer the value of the asset that you acquire differently.
Yep.
And obviously you can see, the words that I'm using oftentimes these days, if you listen to me, a few years ago, it's different. It becomes more efficient and sophisticated, at least so I like to think that way. Look, I think if you do a few things, as I've done over a course of 2 decades, I think you see certain trends, and then you tend to sort of circulate into the areas that makes your life easier. Okay, so to answer your question, systems, the use of systems is important. Yes, like what sort of systems, the incoming company use and have in place, and are they exactly the same or different? Because executing that change in terms of, we are in ConnectWise or you are in AutoTask or something else, as much as it's sort of fundamentally all the same, it's the different workflows. Okay. So systems would be one of them. The other one would be fundamentally productivity. Okay. Looking at how is the productivity executed. How is it looked at in the incoming organization. Okay. I think that's the big thing. Okay. Yep. You can still see in the industry, MSP, TSP, there's still this notion of, everything is a ticket, life is my calendar, real time entries, and gross majority of the businesses have never implemented these productivity framework well. And therefore that change from, we do a job and we do whatever job, or, we think we're doing a good job into, you need to be transparent and you need to engage and we need to deliver, good outcomes to the customers. Executing that sort of mind shift and change becomes challenging oftentimes. Which leads to the third topic and final one. Otherwise, we'll talk for hours on this particular one. It's people.
No problem talking for hours. Let's do it.
I think we pay more and more attention to who is the team coming across.
Yeah.
Okay. Who are these people? What is their heritage, family? What's important to them? How do they contribute to the organizations? What are the challenges around them? Mm-hmm. How are we going to deal with that? How are we going to encourage that notion of change and going into the, bigger and better future together in the most efficient, rewarding and productive manner. Mm-hmm. So it's people.
Yeah. So when you're looking at people, I assume part of it is going to be culture and fit and making sure there's some synergies there. But I imagine also that you would be looking at the actual raw skill set and the actual talent that the staff in the other business would be bringing across as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a combination of all of these factors that you mentioned at any given point in time of your roll-up journey. Okay, so fundamentally it is a combination of things, but it will be a combination of the skill set, the productivity or weighting of what they bring to the P&L and the risks associated. So you're evaluating it from a financial point of view, not only from the productivity and skill set type of situation. Mm-hmm. And all of these factors sort of come to play, and you're trying to fundamentally identify the risks in terms of what if that person walks out, what's going to happen financially, what's going to happen on the lack of skill set or lack of productivity to be able to get that output out of the door. And you're kind of trying to, weigh that to your best of ability and past experiences to, understand these risks and mitigate them and live with them as you go through time.
Okay. And I'm interested to talk a bit more about, the customer base that you might be looking to bring over when you're looking or considering or acquiring another business. So when you bring over another customer base, is it more so about what is the revenue that you might be bringing over, or is it a bit more about the sort of potential that you might be able to further sell in? Like, do they have a lot of white space that you're able to penetrate with additional services the original business might not have been able to offer?
Absolutely. So, if you can imagine, to make it all more efficient and make your life easier and make all of this quicker as you go through time, is you kind of tend to narrow down of what you're looking at. I'm willing to acquire into. It needs to kind of meet specific sort of criteria. Yeah, it needs to be, in a specific suburb, within specific demographics, specific build, to make your life easier to move forward with that asset. Okay. Initially it was for me, every dollar is a good dollar. Okay. Yeah. We're going to live with this. I'm going to make it happen. But then as you kind of, crash and burn oftentimes, and learn some hard lessons, you tend to pay attention to, so who are these clients? Yes. What's the aggregation of revenue per client? Are there opportunity to upsell? Okay. In your sort of critical lines of business. And then you tend to circulate. I think, if you build business to a certain size, then you tend to circulate into, well, let's just do more of government, or let's just do more of education, let's just do more of SMEs, or specific segment within the SMEs. And all of these are valid sort of approaches, and everyone does it differently. Yeah. I think the most important thing is that, you deliver to what you promise to the clients, you look after your staff well, and you run a profitable business in the end, right? Yeah. It's always these three things.
No, yeah, I can imagine. So, look, I would love to drill in a bit more about some of the key challenges that you face. I know you said there's going to be a myriad of challenges. Is there anything that you've come up against where you really struggled to find a solution for, you ended up overcoming, and you really learned some key insights? So is there any scenario you might be able to drill into a bit more?
Sure. The biggest challenges are always around people. Understanding, human psyche, understanding where people come from, the desires, their goals, their fears and everything that's going in their lives. And I think there's more and more attention that I pay or we pay as a group, on that aspect. Mm-hmm. Because fundamentally, no matter how good the business is, and no matter how good sort of systems and processes and everything else, it can run by itself. It all requires people. It's all another human. Their life matter. They've got the dreams, their fears, and the families, and everything in between. And I think there is this bigger. I think there's almost a need to alleviate combined consciousness in terms of how the businesses and companies are run, financially. So people are more educated in terms of how do I contribute to the well-being of that business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think the biggest challenge has always been about any frictions in the post-merger integration in terms of what people think they can do and what they think, and, or lack of the knowledge of what they contribute to the well-being of the business financially and everything else type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
I often call it impatience and lack of knowledge in terms of how it all comes together. But it's all, individual sort of life journeys and everything else. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So again, it all revolves around people. The biggest challenges are around people, and I think to summarize it, and would be to say you need to listen well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As an entrepreneur or manager, or if you're running teams and working with people, you need to listen well. You need to understand or seek to understand the other side well.
Mm-hmm.
People oftentimes miscommunicate things. They think one thing, they say another, and it's like there's a big mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
So listening, and then obviously communicating clearly in non-confusing terms, setting the expectations right, simple, and then working with people, to deliver the desired outcomes. And overlay it with a ton of patience and training, throwing the seeds on soil and hoping that they will flourish, in certain seasons as you grow with people.
All right, so on to the next question. I was just wanting to drill into, again, your top insights around how to leverage a new acquired business to capture the organic growth of the white space. I think we kind of briefly touched on it before, but when you acquire another business, there's going to be opportunities for further upsell and cross-sell. I'd love to drill into how you sort of view that and how you sort of action it when you roll up a new business.
Yes, absolutely. I think when you do your first and second acquisition, then you obviously see what you have in terms of revenue lines, of focus, of skill sets, and everything that goes into that sort of output and delivery. And then you in a better position to actually just identify opportunities or gaps and opportunities in terms of what can be done, to increase your business. So for us, in this particular scenario, is that every single MSP that we've acquired this round, on the IT&C, the provision of VoIP or hosted telecommunication services has been minimal. If you're looking at our, 20 million plus of annual revenue, I think the weighting of telecommunication before we started engaging with you guys, Success4, has been less than 1%.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, if you're looking at, all of these, hundreds or thousands of clients that you manage, and everyone uses, our phone system and everything around it, then there's this big sort of opening in terms of why don't we just map it out?
Mm-hmm.
Understand, where these clients' contracts and expiry of these contracts are, what's important to them about these services, and then engage a capable partner like you guys, Success4, which we have, who can take you by the hand and market and sell efficiently to the client base. And all of a sudden, you can increase your business by 10, 20, 30% easy within a short period of time by working with the right people and having that sort of soil or piece of real estate that you can cultivate.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, for sure. And, as everyone always says, right, cross-selling or upselling existing customers is a lot easier and a lot more straightforward than having to go out there and acquire net new customers as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I think, going back to the sort of which way is the most efficient way to grow, it will be different for different people. Like I said, it could be grow organically as long as you understand and can exhibit the costs associated, by going that method, grow through channel or grow via acquisitions or any other combinations that I may or may not be aware of. I think, I wouldn't encourage people to just jump in on acquisitions or do this or that or something else without understanding of, the costs associated, time that goes into it in order to execute that properly. But if you're willing to learn and you think that acquisitions are the way to go and the best way to go, right or wrong, then dive in head first and then try to build the parachute before you crash, I suppose.
No, that's a good point, and a great segue into my next question. I really wanted to ask about your sort of key advice or key insights for other MSPs who might be looking to buy or sell a business in the future. What do they need to start thinking about right now, and what are the key pitfalls that they can sort of look to avoid in the early days of their M&A journey?
I think when it comes to buy, always try to buy something similar to you or something that you understand, or at least, the gross majority that you can identify the risks and sort of manage these risks to your best ability. Start small, give it a go, make it a success, learn lessons out of it. There's definitely, the industry becomes more and more efficient. There are a lot of advisories in terms of, how to buy, acquire or grow a business or grow through acquisitions fundamentally. So depending on your circumstances, I'll definitely, subscribe to that content, whether it's free or paid, or even engage, sort of paid advisory for that purpose. And I think it's important also to stick with people who have been there and done it and can exhibit that as well. Because, if this is, let's just say, the M&A or any aspect of the business is an arena, there are a lot of participants, okay? Like, there's a lot of seats in a stadium, okay? All of these experts sit on different seating, okay? You and I, being the business owners, entrepreneurs, we're in the arena, we're fighting, okay? We kind of there to entertain. Mm-hmm. But then you've got the experts who sit, all the way to the end of the bleachers. And oftentimes people just don't pay attention to that experience and that sort of, seat packing mechanism in terms of what that person or what that advisor can bring to the table. Yeah. And I've seen that, there are people who specialize in the M&As and it's all technically right and everything else, but then they never ran a business. Yeah. They've never been in front of a client in any shape or form. They don't understand, what it is. And I think, working with someone who, fought in the arena, okay, and now all of a sudden, is a coach, is a trainer type of situation, I think that's the best type of advisor and outcome I would recommend. I'm talking about me. It could be different for you, the listener.
Yeah. No. Oh, that's still really good feedback and really good insight, because it's complicated, right? Like I think so many MSPs already out there, they're really focusing on organically growing and what can they put into place from a sales or marketing perspective, or how they go to market that can help them to organically grow. But I bet a lot of people haven't thought about how can they inorganically grow through M&A. But again, once you get onto that track, there's a whole bunch of other challenges and different things you need to think about and consider, and relying on other advice or advisory from people who have done it before is always going to be your best bet, right?
Absolutely. I mean, in a sort of spectrum of risk of, I'm completely risk averse all the way to, I'll jump out of the plane head first and then, build out a parachute. You've got different sort of participants, different entrepreneurs, different sort of, business owners. And I think you just need to kind of be honest with yourself, with your core, in terms of, how do I understand that risk? How do I perceive it? And then sort of go around, acquisitions or any aspects of building the business in terms of, I'm comfortable with that, but I'm not comfortable with something else. Is there anyone there in the market that can actually help me with that aspect in the most efficient manner? Yeah. And the thing is that, oftentimes people don't evaluate it that way. There's a cost to everything. Yes. Okay. You will either get someone to help you and take you by the hand, and they will do it in the most efficient way, and they're gonna, charge you for it. So it's a cost. Or, you will jump in head first and try to build a parachute type of situation, hope you won't crash. There's going to be costs to that as well. Okay. So I ask myself a question these days, which way is the most, which cost is the most efficient cost? Because there's that many hours and that many, years in our life that we all have. So.
Yep. Definitely true. I'd also like to touch on what you're seeing in MSP land as a whole, I guess, in terms of M&A activity. Are you expecting there to be more M&A activity in the future? Is this going to be something that more and more MSPs need to be thinking and looking at because people are going to be, knocking at their door more often? Or do you think it's going to be pulling back a bit? It'd be good to get your insight on that.
I think it always ebbs and flows with, where the economy is. We go through the, extreme optimism to some kind of, sort of pessimism around the interest rates and everything else that is happening in the world. And once we get through this and go again on that sort of, up curve type of situation, it's just the cyclical nature of our existence that oftentimes we forget that is happening in the business as well. We're all human, right? That M&A activity will be either always fluctuating on that notion of, everyone is buying and everyone is selling and or nobody is doing either type of situation or anywhere in between. There are a lot of good things happening, from within, big vendors like yourselves and any other sort of, companies, including the ones, the big ones coming out of US where, they fundamentally help other, MSPs or any other sort of, technologies in the framework in which they operate to help them actually learn about how to build and structure, how to build a profitable business. Which is fundamentally a well-structured asset for that reason. That would allow you in the final stage to actually, exit and or merge with someone else. So there's been, a lot of this good education happening from Kaseya, from ConnectWise. I know that things are happening through you guys as well, in sort of, in different streams. So that's all good. And it's only through time where out of a sudden, we'll arrive with better structured businesses or assets, if we're talking from that sort of financial standpoint. And I think that's all fantastic. So I encourage everyone to, jump on board, whoever you're with, whoever you love in terms of your, vendor or software provider, and sort of learn about how to build, a strong, profitable, scalable business that in the final account of things or any time in your journey can be merged or sold to or with type of thing. Yeah, it's all great.
No, that's good. And just on that topic of either exiting or merging with another business, do you think typically MSPs when they're looking at M&A, they would be looking to merge with another business more so than exit completely? Is there any benefit to one or the other, or is it just purely down to what your objectives are?
So, if you're looking at the technical aspect from a sort of, financial standpoint, every merger is an acquisition, right? So there's no such a thing as a merger. It's fundamentally an acquisition in disguise, because, a bigger party sort of merges with a smaller party or vice versa, and there's a decision of which way we're going to go as a combined entity, okay? And even if you're same size, then the decision is of similar sort of sort, and obviously you kind of rearrange the pecking order, all the way through to shareholding. So there is that aspect. Sorry, I lost my train of thoughts for a second and got excited. Could you please just remind me the question again?
Yeah,
I apologize.
So it was just about a merger versus exiting. So if an MSP is looking to get into M&A, do you think they're better off trying to merge with another business or actually go out there and sell the business and completely exit?
Absolutely. I think in all of this, if you're listening to this podcast, the most important thing that you need to take away from is there is no right or wrong. You need to understand a spectrum of what is happening in the market, and can you make a different spectrum that suits your requirements or the other party requirements where you would transact at any given point in time. Okay. But looking at the technical things, if you're looking at businesses or MSPs in sub 10 or let's just say even sub 20 million sort of annual revenue, I haven't seen myself. It can be different to you listener. I haven't seen successful mergers executed to the level anticipated. Yeah. For certain technical reasons, including personalities that sort of, try to merge and everything else.
Sure.
I think these mergers, if we're talking from that perspective, happen efficiently at certain size and structure of the business. Yeah. When fundamentally the owners are removed from the business completely and you're really running a well-structured, scalable machine. Yeah. So normally that would happen with these sort of, at least 10 million plus assets where you've got most of the things set up properly from systems, processes, roles and everything that goes to it, that would allow you to scale into the future. Yeah. These smaller mergers, what I've experienced myself is they usually just merge, and in less than 3 years, they demerge for certain human-related reasons. One of them could be I work more than my partner, and he draws more than I do, and therefore, what's the point of that? Okay, so it could be as silly as that, or something else more complex.
Back to people again, right? As you were saying before, people is just such a massive part and so important of any acquisition.
People, absolutely, yes.
Cool.
I wish we could read minds at times, just to kind of, from a right perspective, or from right intention, just to kind of mathematically verify whether, what goes out, through what people speak versus what they think is actually, a coloration in terms of, exact outcome that they seek.
If only it would probably make sales a lot easier as well if we knew exactly what our customers were thinking about.
Absolutely.
Cool. So stepping outside of the M&A space, I would love to hear a bit from your side about what you sort of see happening, or the key trends that you think are going to sort of rise their heads up in MSP land over the next, say, 5 to 10 years. And how do you think MSPs can prepare for some of these big changes?
Sure, absolutely. I think a lot of things happened. So, the first topic that comes to mind is obviously AI. Right? If I didn't say it, that means I'm in the dark ages. So there it is. But the thing is that, if you're looking at MSPs, there's still journey to the cloud. Yep. Yes. Still but that's like, two lifetimes ago from, us talking AI now going that way. And then there's still, an overwhelming aspect of, security, cybersecurity. Yep. Okay, so you've got this, journey to the cloud, which still a lot of businesses have to complete, and all MSPs sort of, going that way. And there's also that sort of, hey, let's just make sure that we've got cybersecurity component properly sort of executed. Yeah. And then you've got the AI. So it's like, hey, this is, life 3.0. Let's go this way. A lot of people still living in the sort of, 1.5 or 2.
Yeah,
so that's fundamentally what it is.
Yeah, but AI, right? AI is always a tricky one in the sense that, how real is it in the sense of making really strong business impact in the, say, short to medium term? I think everyone sort of knows that in the long run, AI is going to be a massive game changer. But, you see at events, people posting online, always talking about AI and always raising the big red flag that things are going to be changing. But I'm not sure if people have seen any sort of material changes right now, but it's definitely coming. I mean, do you see a time horizon where AI is actually going to make a lot more of an impact on how an MSP will run their business?
I'm probably not the person who usually kind of, spells out time horizons and all that. I know it may be important to other people for whatever reason, being right or, sort of this or that or something else.
Yeah.
I think it's important that you provide a good customer service and you train in between so you're ready to implement incrementally when what you just said becomes of material value. Okay? Because I think, where is crypto now? It's still there, right? Bitcoin is trading at whatever level type of situation, but a lot of this now becomes like it's as if it didn't exist type of thing. Okay. Or it's actually has got a bad stigma for all of these things that happen in the US and all over the place, type of thing. Okay. So I'm not saying that AI is the same. It's definitely not. I think, we're all using ChatGPT and we can see the amazing results that it can produce. But I think, as amazing as this technology appears to be, and definitely is, I think the big money, the big companies, which we all aspire to build or become or be part of at some point in time in our journey, at least some of us, I think they've got a tendency to push the perception and sort of build that sort of bridge to that place, whether it exists or not. And I think people oftentimes jump in on it too quickly. Yeah, versus just taking a moment and doing the right things that you do, and educate yourself and your fellow man to actually just be prepared to jump in when everything is going that way, like truly, and it's verified and confirmed, and that's the way to go, type of thing. Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense. And I think as well, for like from my side, coming from more of the marketing world, AI is one of those things people throw around like crazy, but still at the end of the day, right now, I think you still have to look at it as a tool that you can use, and not something to sort of rest your laurels on, or it's going to be taking up all the headcount of your team or whatever it might be. Right? It's now it's still at a spot where it is a tool, and you have to use it as a tool. Right? You can't use it to do everything that you might need to do in a marketing function or another department. You have to look at it as simply a tool, like an email marketing platform or a social media insights tool, whatever it is. You have to have that human element behind it.
Absolutely.
And not get sucked away into the sort of buzzword of what AI is.
That's it. I think there's a lot of, I always talk about myself. So, you listener, obviously, evaluate from your perspective, but I feel that there's almost that fear of missing out again. Which is artificially created for whatever reason by what I call big money. Big companies, for the right or wrong reasons that I may or may not understand. But, obviously I evaluate everything from level where I stand, my life experience and the knowledge that I have, and what I, sort of how I sort of compute the reality of things. I think there's the fear of missing out, and the reality of things of running an MSP in Australia. If you're running 1 to sub $5 or sub $10 million business, is we all have struggled with recruiting talent. Okay, now I don't know how about you, but show me people who come with basic certifications. Microsoft 365. All the way through to mid or expert level. Show me the talent in abundance. Applying for jobs that has got Azure certifications. Show me the talent coming who's got cybersecurity certifications from these vendors. It is almost non-existent. Okay, so think from that perspective. We've got this FOMO, of missing out, on AI, or oh my God, what's going to happen if they do jobs? We seriously don't even have people across the board in gross majority that are properly certified on key technologies, educated, certified, tried and true. Yeah, so I'm talking about me. Looking at the recruitment flow and resumes that come through, for all the jobs that we advertise. And obviously I'm hearing the same thing from other people that we acquire, that we sort of approach for acquisitions, So I think we need to address that aspect first.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's a lot of training.
Oh yeah.
Right. If you map out, Microsoft, obviously, certification 365, we've got it done somewhere in a spreadsheet. In terms of, so what is the educational effort to kind of for someone to complete, and it's non-trivial. Okay. And for many people, it will be a few years to actually just get that knowledge under the belt and get certified and know how to execute that properly. Okay. And then there's the obviously security side of things. And then you've got the AI now. So there's this big gap in terms of how quickly the technology progresses versus how quickly the MSP industry learns and adjusts and gains certain certifications to actually just be, on top of things, I would say.
No,
that's my personal kind of, where I see things at this point in time.
No, look, talent is a massive issue for not only our industry, but for many, many industries out there right now. And as you said, you need to get this human people element right before you probably even start thinking about AI as well, right? Because it's still the core of any business.
Absolutely. I think, myself, I jumped on, any Google courses available, which are some of them are free, and just start learning and educating, don't wait, right? Don't jump into it head first unless your risk profile allows to do that and you feel great about it. You've got this, influx of adrenaline. That's okay. But, as I get more gray hair, it's the notion of, let me just start learning about it. Okay. Let me just gain knowledge and sort of correlate from the marketing that I'm hearing, the real case uses and how does it actually how does it actually deliver in real terms? Yeah. Just get ready, I would say.
No, that's great. Look, I think we can leave it there. Thanks a lot for coming onto the show today. Really appreciate the chat. I think it was really good. For anyone out there who's listening and might want to get in touch with you, how can they reach you?
Sure. Look me up on LinkedIn. Michael Sobota. Sobota is Polish for Saturday. Okay, so if you don't remember the spelling, just go Google Translate. What's Saturday in Polish, which is Sobota. Hit me on email, which is michael.sobota@sonaband.com.au. Again, a lot of spelling there. So look me up on LinkedIn and connect and send a nice message, and we'll communicate.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks a lot for coming to the show again, mate. We'll talk again soon. Thank you very much.
Sounds good. Thank you. Take care.